If you're a dancer, you know that your brain is constantly speaking to you during the learning process, during the memory process, and throughout the entire class. This episode is all about what to say in your head to become a better dancer. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are talking about the things we as dancers say inside of our head, and how important it is to fill yourself with not only good things, but to have strategy behind the things that you're saying on the dance floor. What we say in our heads is going to make us a better dancer. And the things that we say can be broken up into 3 categories. The things we say when we learn, the things we say when we memorize, and the things we say to motivate ourselves. So the reason why I'm first talking about this is because we've been talking about a lot of musicality at the studio, and I wanted to remind everyone the options that we have when we're learning dance. So we're gonna start there first. So the options that you have when you're learning dance, and this is from the teacher, there are counts, beats, lyrics, and then there are also the things that you say in your head. And that one kind of has like an expanding category. So we'll talk about that one last. So in terms of beats and lyrics, that means that the teacher is teaching you the choreography based off of the beats that you're hearing in the song. For the lyrics, the teacher is teaching you the choreography based off of the lyrics that you're hearing in the song. And you've probably heard of the style lyrical, and the prime focus is the lyrics and getting in touch with the lyrics. Now, as a dancer, when we first hear a song, we're understanding the job of a dancer. So what we do as dancers is we bring to life the musicality in a visual way. And what we do is bring out everything that is heard through the song at different parts. We give the audience an experience. Now, obviously, you might not be thinking about a duty or a job as a dancer when you're having fun and you just want to go to the studio and learn a routine. However, our performance and our experience with dance becomes more real and authentic when we understand what our musicality is telling us to showcase. So it could be telling us, hey, this song is really flirty and fun, and we will become that vibe. It could be saying, hey, this is really sultry and scary, and it's like a Halloween vibe, and we embody that within our performance. And we can embody it in the way that we hit moves, we can embody it in the way that our facials show up, the way that we utilize our dynamics, and it brings us not only a better performance, but I understand like dancers aren't always thinking about their performance because first they're like, I just want to learn. I'm not thinking about performance, but they're kind of one and the same because in order to dance, you're already learning the art of performance. That's like saying you want a glass of orange juice, but like you don't want to open the refrigerator. Like they're both together unless you're out in the jungle. You can't get juice. We'll go back to the beats and lyrics in a second, and I want to touch on counts for a second. So if you're a counter, you're going to be most easily in touch with counts. In fact, sometimes I notice that someone being a counter inhibits them from relaxing in the movement and understanding the reason why the choreography is done in certain ways. So it's a great thing to be able to count, and it's a great thing to be able to stray from counting to be more in touch with the beats or the lyrics. There's sometimes a rigidity that happens for someone who's only a counter when they can only rely on that because they're so thinking count, okay, this, that their dancing quality becomes a little bit more robotic and less in touch with what we're bringing through to the song. And that's not always the case as well. Counts are really nice to be able to rely on. They're really helpful for making the whole group be in unison. What good is that though if you don't know how to count? So at the studio, we have all types of learners. We have count learners, we have beat learners, we have lyric learners, and then we have a mix. And my philosophy on teaching is, as a dancer of over 30 years and a teacher for over 20 years, we can do all of it. And when we do, not only are we a versatile learner, we are also able to access different parts of the musicality because we can switch our brain into these different zones of music. In the one hand, our timing will be really great because we understand the counts. Our dynamics will be amazing because we're understanding the beats and how we're going to hit them, whether they're soft, hard, slow, or fast. And then we understand the vibe that we're bringing because we know what the lyrics are saying. So we know if the artist is saying something kind of sassy, we can kind of emulate that through our facials. So we've got our facials, our dynamics, and our timing, which are three main principles of dance, which when you think about it, it makes so much sense because dance is visual and it's auditory and it's an art form. So everything has a purpose. So if we think about that as one category, all of those three things, this is what the teacher is bringing to you. Then we have this other category, which kind of has a little overlap, and this is what you're saying inside your head while you're dancing. So this could be another category of teaching. So this could be like that fourth category. So counts, beats, lyrics, and saying the moves out loud. So this would sound like instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, it would be walk, 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 step, ball change, step, step. Or it could even be rights and lefts. Right, left, right, left, right, right, left. And that's one way of memorizing, yes, and it's also one way of teaching. And what I've learned from teaching over 4,000 dancers is everything works, and it's helpful as a teacher to understand what your students need. So last night we had a very count-heavy class, and it's a great thing to drill the counts, especially for songs that aren't giving you extra beats or aren't giving you lyrics that really stand out. It's really nice to rely on counts, especially for dances that are in the style of jazz or precision jazz, or even styles where things are very, very slow and it's like, how slow is it? Or when it's a waltz type song, so like a 6/8 time signature or even a 3/4 signature. Relying on counts is very helpful to get everyone on the same page. And sometimes it's a memory thing and not a timing thing. And it's really good for you to know this as a dancer. Are you having trouble connecting to the music because you don't understand the timing? Or are you having trouble connecting to the music because you forgot? Now, there's things that you can say in your head when you forget. And one of those is, yes, the moves that we're doing, the rights and lefts of what you're doing. You can also come up with scenarios. And I teach my students this by giving them like a storyline and it's moves that could somehow relate to the storyline. And that would be like, let's say that we're in the mansion and we have to go downstairs and we have to knock down something off of a shelf. But the move isn't really like knocking down something off a shelf. It's more like, maybe the arm goes over. But now they're visualizing the storyline and it's helping them with their memory. And they're able to remember it better because the story is so either relatable or it's so funny and silly that they aren't able to stop thinking about it. So it becomes something helpful. Now, sometimes a student can do this for one single part. So let's say that you're dancing and you're having a hard time remembering one part. That one part is just getting you every time. That's when you might implement a storyline. And you'll find that the more you do that, the more you will remember that part. In terms of memory, another thing that you can do that you say inside your head is your relationships with yourself and the audience. So when I'm learning a dance, especially if I'm having a hard time spatially that day, I tactily touch the sides of my body. So I understand where my right side is, my left side is, my right leg, my left leg, my hip, my rib cage. And I just kind of get in touch with this with my eyes closed. And then I make a point to like honor my front or my audience. And I understand my relationship between myself and my audience. So if I'm doing a move and I'm facing the mirror, I might say, okay, well, the audience is the mirror, as we always do. And let's say I face stage right. I think at that moment, which body part is closest to my audience? So instead of thinking right, left, forward, this, back, I'm thinking, okay, my left side's closest to the audience right here. Or let's say that the dance starts upstage left. I would get into that position and I would say, okay, which body part is closest to my audience? And then I would say, okay, well, it's my booty. And I would make that understanding and that would help me with my memory. Maybe it makes sense for the next step. If my body is facing primarily stage right, I would say, okay, this needs to face stage right. So I need to go from here to here. And that helps me with my memory visually inside of my head. So the things that we're saying in our head so far, we're saying either the counts, the beats, the lyrics, the moves that we're doing, and that's helping us with our learning experience. With our memory experience, we're saying the moves, the rights, the lefts, the storyline, or the positioning of our body towards the audience or certain stage sides. And our third category is one that's probably not as obvious, and it's the words of affirmation and the motivation that you're saying inside your head, which is also important when you're dancing, because one of the most common things that people say to me is I don't want to be in my head so much, or I want to be able to get out of my head tonight. Or like after class, they'll tell me like, oh yeah, on this part, I kept messing up. And my questions are always, okay, well, did you say beautiful things to yourself for all the things that you did get? Did you celebrate yourself when you remembered the part that you were having a hard time remembering? So this section is actually really important because after a run through of the dance, the most common thing for us to do is to say, how can it be better? How can we make it look better? And how can we make it feel better? And while we're going through the dance, we're saying, oh, you got that. Oh, you didn't get that. Oh, this was this. Oh, you messed up that again. So our dialogue is becoming something that we truly believe. And I know my dancers say some pretty mean things to themselves. You effed that up again. Or why are you so stupid? You haven't been able to do that move and you'll never get it. Oh my gosh, they say such bad things to themselves. And it's what you start believing. The more that you say it, the more autopilot our brain goes into, like not even recognizing that it's even like a startling thing. Like, for example, I don't use the word, oh gosh, I can't even say it. Shut up. I just think that's a really mean phrase. So when I hear it, I'm like, whoa, I'm like startled by it a little bit. I'm like, whoa. And I know that there are people that say it a lot. And so I know that when they're saying something that's so common, it's not as startling. It's probably the same as like, I dance like this every day. And for someone who doesn't at all, it's like, whoa, did she just slap her butt? Like, whoa. Yeah, it could be shocking. So I feel the same way about that word or other certain words as people probably feel about the kind of dancing that we do when we're in heels. The only reason why discomfort happens is because we are not comfortable yet with that. And the reason why we get comfortable is because discomfort becomes less uncomfortable and more comfortable because we have more times doing it. So I have some little tiny homework for you, and it's just to take an inventory, to audit the language that you say in your head, and to do so in these 3 categories. So the next time you're at dance class, I want you to get really in touch with what you're saying inside your head. Are you utilizing the counts, the beats, the lyrics? And then what would it feel like to lean on another category? So if you're typically a count person, what would happen if you leaned more into the beat area? If you're typically listening to the beats and you never really hear the lyrics, what would happen if you try to pull out some of the lyrics, or you say, oh, what did they say when they say this? Or what would happen if you were relying on both the beats and the lyrics and you went right into counting? See how it would shift your learning. See how hard it will be at first, yes, because it's almost like turning part of your brain off and turning another part of your brain on. And that can be very tricky. And also know that when you do that, it's going to feel disconnected. It might feel worse before it gets better. And that's fine, because that's part of the learning process. Anytime we do something new or we include something that's different, we get to give ourselves an adjustment period. And that's what's going to help us get comfortable with it. And then I want you to take inventory of what you say when you're learning in terms of memory. So are you utilizing the actual words and directions of what is happening, the names of the actual steps? Are you saying the rights and the lefts? Or are you making the scenario, or are you thinking about the body, or all the above? Now, the reason why this is important to know is because once you figure out your answer, you can actually frame your questions in that light. So if you like to say right, left, you can say to your teacher, do you mind doing this next run with rights and lefts? And they'll be like, yeah. Or do you mind doing this in story time? I don't know other teachers that do that, but you could suggest it. And once you know what is helpful for you, that's where you can guide your questions. Going back to beats, lyrics, and counts, if you find that you're naturally a beat person, you can say, hey, what sound of the music does that go on? Or is it better if I focus on the lyric at that moment? Lyrics are funny because sometimes when it's a lyric and it's like machine, the move goes on the sheen of machine. Or if it's table, the word goes on bull of table, or table. So sometimes the lyrics are helpful and sometimes they're not. And then the last thing to take inventory on is, what are the phrases, the common phrases that you say when you're dancing? Are you mean to yourself? And be honest. And this is the most important part of this question, is how can you replace that sentence with something a little more encouraging? And the way to think about that is, think about a golden retriever puppy, and you're speaking to this little puppy. You're not going to be like, you fucked up again. You're so bad. You're going to say, oh my God, good job doing anything that you're doing. Like, let me squeeze you and hug you. Think about a puppy, think about a friend. Like, how would you speak to that friend? And that's how we can speak to ourselves too. So these are all the things that dancers say inside of our heads. And it's kind of funny because it makes me think of the movie What Women Want with Mel Gibson. And if you know that movie, you know that he like wakes up from getting electrocuted, basically. And all of a sudden, he can hear the dialogue inside all the women in his life, or even strangers on the street. And the dialogue is so fast and so rapid. And the same goes for when we're of course, it's the same for when we're in the middle of a dance routine. And when we pay attention to it, we really find that we can create more power within ourselves, because the only person listening to that is not Mel Gibson. It's you. You're the person listening to it. So you're the one feeding off of that energy for the rest of the day. It's like junk food. If you go and you have something like really heavy and greasy, like your body doesn't feel good, it's the same as when you're saying to yourself a bunch of mean, nasty things. Your body's not going to feel good. Your brain's not going to feel good. But if you only eat junk food, your body's like used to it, like, oh, okay. But as soon as you start eating clean and like beautiful foods, you have more energy, you can do more things, you have better sleep, your metabolism speeds up, life becomes brighter and more exciting and happier, and you have more time for friends. It's the same for when you're dancing. Once you fuel yourself with the proper words, you become a better dancer. So I hope that this was helpful for you. And if it was, it would mean the absolute world to me if you shared this with a friend on your Instagram or send it in their DMs, because sharing this dance podcast is helping someone else on their dance journey. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.